4 lifetimes, stacked back to back, plus 10 extra years, and $250,000 in fines. That's the concrete box Bryan Kohberger now calls his future. In one breath, Judge Steven Hippler erased the possibility of daylight, parole, or even a whispered hope of freedom. 4 consecutive life sentences without parole for murder, tacked on to a decade for burglary and $270,000 in penalties. No appeals, no escape clause, just endless years to replay one brutal night and wonder how a criminology student became the cautionary tale the system will never forget. No parole, no sunlight, no day he'll ever walk free again. Judge Steven Hippler's gavel didn't just come down, it crashed like a sledgehammer. 4 consecutive life sentences for murder, tacked on to 10 extra years for burglary, and more than $250,000 in fines and civil penalties. One breath, barely long enough for the courtroom to gasp, and Kohberger's world shrank to the size of a cell. Yet, the instant that sentence landed, a bigger, darker mystery began whispering through the halls of justice. Was this really justice served? Or just the prologue to something even more unsettling? That question lingers as reporters scramble outside the courthouse. Cameras clicking, families sobbing, and Kohberger, stone-faced, gets led away in shackles. The man once hailed as a brilliant criminology student is now inmate number B50723, destined to spend eternity replaying one horrific night in his head. But here's where it gets crazier. The punishment is only page 1. The rest of the story bends time back to a frigid November evening in 2022 and a house on King Road that still sends chills down the spines of seasoned detectives. Stick with me, because the deeper we dig, the more this case flips from chilling true crime to a cautionary tale about obsession, arrogance, and the deadly thrill of believing you're smarter than everyone else. Rewind to a bitterly cold November night in Moscow, Idaho. The rental house on King Road, nicknamed the Party Place by students, sits eerily still. Just hours earlier, roommates Kaylee Gonsalves and Madison Mogan had been laughing over late-night street tacos, while Zana Kernodle and Ethan Chapin watched TikTok videos in the living room. By dawn, all 4 are dead, stabbed dozens of times with what investigators later identify as a military-style knife. No forced entry, no defensive wounds that match a drawn-out struggle. It looks almost clinical, as if the killer knew exactly where to step, where to strike, and how to vanish before anyone could dial 911. Whispered theories ignite like dry pine needles. A jealous ex, a stalker with a vendetta, a thrill seeker obsessed with gore. None stick, until detectives notice a fleeting blur on a grainy street camera. A white Hyundai Elantra rolling through the dark like a ghost. 8 miles away at Washington State University, Bryan Kohberger parks that exact model outside his apartment building. To classmates, he's the quirky grad student who buys vegan pizza that nobody is allowed to touch for cross-contamination reasons. He pushes academic debates beyond comfortable boundaries, asking in one online survey, how do criminals feel after committing murder? It's creepy, sure, but in an academic bubble, creepy sometimes passes for curious. A professor even praises his attention to detail. A fellow teaching assistant shrugs him off as awkward but harmless. Yet campus security footage shows Kohberger cruising the back roads of Moscow countless times, his phone inexplicably going dark on the night of the murders, resurfacing miles away just as dawn breaks. Still, none of this is enough to arrest him, until a single piece of trash changes everything. January 2023, nearly 3 a.m. in Pennsylvania. FBI agents dig through the Kohberger family's curbside garbage. Under a cold drizzle, they fish out a discarded coffee lid, swab the rim, and send it to the lab. It matches DNA on the tan leather knife sheath found under Madison's body, a sheath left, intentionally or not, like a signed confession. Within days, tactical units swarm the family home. Kohberger is led out in handcuffs wearing latex gloves. asking officers a question that sends chills through every detective. Did anyone else get arrested? 2 states away, news outlets run that line in bold red banners. Was Kohberger hinting at an accomplice? Or simply playing mind games? The arrest feels like a Hollywood climax, but the legal odyssey barely begins. Prosecutors announce they'll seek the death penalty, a move cheered by many, but risky. Idaho juries can be unpredictable. One misstep could mean a mistrial, years of appeals, painful cross-examinations for the victims' families. And then, out of nowhere, comes the plea deal. Kohberger will confess to 4 counts of first-degree murder and 1 burglary charge, waive his right to appeal, and spend every remaining moment behind steel bars. In exchange, the state drops capital punishment. Some call it pragmatic, others call it cowardice. Kaylee's sister posts on Facebook, "The state failed us." Xana's mother tells TMZ she wanted him to feel what her daughter felt. The courtroom becomes a battleground of grief versus practicality, vengeance versus closure. At the July 2 plea hearing, Judge Hippler leans forward, voice taut. "Are you pleading guilty because you are guilty?" Kohberger responds, barely above a whisper, "Yes." The judge presses harder, listing each victim by name, asking if the killings were deliberate, unlawful, premeditated, and fueled by malice. "Yes," Kohberger repeats, 4 times, like a morbid metronome. Not once does he say why. No apology, no tearful breakdown, no diary-style confession. Just 3 letters, YES, floating in the courtroom air like smoke. Reporters scribble furiously, but the motive remains a blank space on every notepad, an absence that gnaws louder than any confession. That empty space might haunt us precisely because Bryan Kohberger was trained to fill it. Court filings reveal his intended doctoral dissertation, how emotional intelligence and psychological traits influence decision-making in violent offenders. Imagine a student so immersed in the study of murder that the border between observation and participation erodes, cell by cell. Did he begin to see the case study as incomplete without first-hand data? Did he crave notoriety, thinking he could analyze the system while navigating it? More disturbingly, how many times did he rehearse the crime in his mind, mapping escape routes, cataloging evidence to avoid, studying forensic blind spots, before his academics morphed into a blueprint for bloodshed? True Crime Podcast sees on every crumb. One swears he messaged Madison Mogan from a burner account weeks before the murders. Another digs up alleged misogynistic forum rants under the pseudonym Papa Roger. Reddit sleuths freeze-frame traffic cams, tracing possible getaway paths. Nothing is officially confirmed, but speculation has become its own genre of entertainment. Streaming giants line up with multi-episode docuseries pitches. Actors circle roles of detectives and grieving parents. And somewhere in the belly of a maximum security facility, Kohberger sits in a concrete box, a PhD dream replaced by the reality of 4 steel doors clanging shut every night. Meanwhile, the victims' families navigate a grief compounded by Hollywood's frenzy. Some vow to cooperate on documentaries to safeguard truth. Others refuse any project, fearing sensationalism will overshadow their children's memories. Civil suits loom. The university beefs up campus patrols, haunted by the image of a man who once graded papers on criminal deviance. Even criminology faculty admit they've re-examined how they vet students, wrestling with the uncomfortable question, can you ever truly foresee who will step off the academic path into predation? The unanswered why isn't just academic curiosity, it's fuel for cultural anxiety. Humans can process cruelty when motive makes a twisted sort of sense. Jealous rage, financial gain, ideological fanaticism. Randomness, on the other hand, leaves an open wound. Was it a personal fixation with one victim? A thrill kill meticulously planned to test criminological theories? Did the murderer hope to outwit investigators to validate his own intellect? Each theory offers fleeting closure, yet none slam the door shut. And with no trial testimony, no cross-examination, those narrative gaps remain, ripe for endless rewrites in podcasts, TikToks, and think pieces. Here's a chilling side note. During his first semester at WSU, Kohberger reportedly told a classmate that he admired how systematic Ted Bundy was. He dissected Bundy's mistakes, insisting he would have done it differently. Those words now read like foreshadowing scripted by fate. But maybe the lesson is even darker. Despite all his planning, Kohberger still left a fingerprint of arrogance. The knife sheath, the cell phone blackout, the telltale Hyundai that led straight back to him. In trying to orchestrate the perfect crime, he exposed the fatal flaw of many self-styled masterminds. They underestimate the power of a single oversight and the relentlessness of collective grief. Fast forward 2 months and 2 states away. A sleepy Pennsylvania suburb jolts awake as tactical teams surround a modest family home at 3 a.m. Inside, Bryan Kohberger, PhD candidate in criminology, stands wide-eyed in latex gloves, frozen mid-cleanup. FBI agents find trash bags stuffed with used coffee cups and scraps of paper. Ordinary refuse to anyone else, but a goldmine to a lab tech. One coffee lid bears DNA that matches that sheath from the crime scene. And suddenly, the profile of the meticulous student snaps into focus. A man who writes essays about serial killers by day and, prosecutors argue, moonlights as one by night. Yet, when handcuffs click shut, Kohberger asks a single, baffling question. Did anyone else get arrested? Stranger still, he offers nothing else. No sob story, no slip-up confession, just that cryptic line. Was he hinting at a partner, or merely playing mind games? Keep that thought. It comes roaring back later. Back in Idaho, detectives present a mountain of evidence. Cell tower pings showing Kohberger's phone going dark exactly during the murder window. Security footage of the Hyundai circling the neighborhood. A knife sheath's DNA and internet posts where someone using a handle suspiciously linked to Kohberger asks, "How do you feel when you commit murder?" But evidence isn't the same as closure, and prosecutors know death penalty trials can drag on for years. Enter the plea bargain that sparks fury. Confess to every count, surrender all appeals, live the rest of your life behind bars, and the state won't pursue lethal injection. Some families see mercy, others smell betrayal. Kaylee's sister slams the deal as a complete failure. Xana's mother says the state spared itself, not us. The courtroom becomes a powder keg of grief versus pragmatism. Yet Kohberger, unemotional, simply answers each charge with yes. No remorse, no motive, just that hollow syllable, echoing like a taunt. Here's where it gets crazier, because the motive remains an abyss. Was it personal? Did he fixate on Madison after spotting her at a campus party? Was it a twisted research project to test crime scene theories? Or was it a misogynistic vendetta swirling in online echo chambers, some incel fantasy turned lethal? Reddit sleuths freeze-frame blurry CCTV, podcasters quote alleged DMs, TikTok psychics claim visions of the killer's thoughts. Yet police documents never pin a definitive reason. And the plea deal means we may never hear cross-examination, never watch Kohberger squirm under a prosecutor's laser. Instead, we're left with the silence of a cell door and the hum of speculation filling the void. But to understand why this matters, you need to peek inside Kohberger's abandoned dissertation proposal. Titled, Emotional Decision-Making in Offenders, it aimed to measure how violent criminals plan and rationalize their actions. Picture a student so obsessed with mapping the anatomy of evil that he crosses the line from observer to participant. Did he orchestrate the crimes to perfect his thesis? Did he crave notoriety, imagining a future where books dissect his brilliance? One professor recalls Kohberger praising Ted Bundy's methodical approach, claiming he would have done it smarter. Irony doesn't even begin to cover it. The man who critiqued Bundy's mistakes made the very blunder, leaving trace DNA that got him caged for eternity. While Hollywood scrambles for docuseries rights, while true crime forums debate whether justice was served, Washington State University's criminology department is rewriting its screening procedures. Professors quietly admit they never flagged Kohberger despite unsettling class discussions. Some students now wonder if that strange but smart classmate sitting next to them could be harboring similar fantasies. The line between studying darkness and being consumed by it feels thinner than ever, and universities across the country are paying attention. So where does that leave us tonight, with one haunting question echoing through metal bars and internet threads alike? If the people who analyze evil can still fall prey to it, how do the rest of us spot the danger before it knocks? Drop your thoughts below, because this case isn't just about 4 beautiful lives stolen or a courtroom drama concluded. It's a mirror held up to every true crime binge watcher, every podcast host, and anyone convinced that knowledge alone inoculates them against malevolence. Stay curious, stay cautious, and remember, sometimes the smartest person in the lecture hall is the one you should fear the most.